Well, if you got a dollar on just a lousy down, know that I got rhythm that could suit your budget found.
The time has come for a trusty road trip. So, Trusty Huckster Mercantile on the road. I am heading to Pennsylvania for my daughter's graduation from college and decided to turn it into a road trip. So, starting out on a not so early Tuesday morning, because I've got to drive, I decided to sleep in a little bit. But thanks to forgetting to set my do not disturb, I got woke up this morning by work things, so I got up a little earlier than I thought. But that's okay. It just gave me an earlier start, and I am on the road, heading to my first stop on the trip, one of my favorite, if not my favorite, antique mall in the country, Maumee Antique Mall in Maumee, Ohio. So heading to Ohio, and we'll see how this vlogging goes throughout the trip, but I figured we'll start it out right and at least have an introduction and see where we go from here. So stay tuned. I'll let you know what we find. So, made it to my first destination. A lot of construction coming here, so it took me a little bit longer than normal. Plus, I lose the hour coming into the Eastern time zone. But I've got a few hours before they close, so let's see what we find inside. So here's something I'm not all that familiar with, but they're movie posters. But what I found interesting about them is they're somewhat of a, I don't know, I would say a unique size. Maybe these are common. I'm familiar with like lobby cards, but these are really narrow and they're really tall. I didn't bring my tape measure, but quick tip, if you're ever in a place like this, look at the floor. Floor tiles are typically 12 by 12, so you can look at something like this and discover it is slightly over 12 inches, probably 15 inches wide, and about 3 feet tall. So roughly 15 by 36, based on laying it near the floor tile. I got Mario Lanza in the first time. Second time around with Andy Griffith. Judy Holliday, the solid gold Cadillac, and Glenn Ford and Debbie Reynolds, and It Started With a Kiss. So I was kind of looking at these, see if I can get down here and look at the bottom. So I really wasn't 100% sure what these were. So let's see if I can get rid of that glare. But it says right on here that these are property of National Screen Service Corporation, and it's a licensed display that was supposed to be returned after use. So the copyright was 1959, Lowe's Incorporated, country of origin USA, and then there are numbers on here, so I don't know if there were 272 or what, 172 issued, and this was number 59. I guess that kind of makes sense in the 50s. Yeah, maybe they distributed this to 172 theaters. Not sure. Only one of them is priced, and it's priced at $15, which to me seems really cheap. You'd never be able to ship them flat like that, and I'd be worried about rolling them in a tube. You can see where they were probably shipped to the theater with in some sort of a full envelope or something, because you can see the folds on almost all of them have a pretty major fold, you know, right there in the middle. But, you know, for a certain time, the graphics on these are pretty awesome, and if these are movies that you either grew up on or look fondly upon, this could be a fun collectible to start. And if this is any indication of the going prices, 15 bucks, be an inexpensive collection to start. The danger of doing deep dives is once you're educated, you can't walk down an aisle without running into things that you've learned about. And right off the bat, I saw this stack of baskets, skipped over the weird one with the ladybugs in it, and saw these flat maple ones. And lo and behold, they are Longaberger. And these are getting into some of the older ones. So this one's 84. You can see there's a lot more patina on this one. And they're only asking 10 bucks for that one. One right underneath it has one of those plaques on the top. So this is from 1992. Asking $15 for that. These are not Longabergers. If you didn't know that, it's because you didn't watch my deep dive. And so I go into this stack, and this one maybe. Yep, it's a Longaberger. And it's also from the 80s. So it's got that flat maple like she talked about. And it's signed by the weaver and dated 1989. And then we got, it looks like another one back here with that same flat maple. And it's stamped and it's signed 98. That one they're also only asking 10 bucks. This one looks like it's got the liner and the basket in it. Also signed. Oddly, somebody seems to have used a magic marker to cross out the signature and the date. They must have thought it meant something else. That's weird. So that's unfortunate. That one's 30, but it does have the other pieces. And then I think this one in the bottom was Longaberger as well. And it is, and it's signed 1990. So we had a collector from the 80s and 90s. Collection is now for sale, and I recognized it because of my deep dive with Cyndi from Mimi's Treasure Cottage. It's pretty common to go down memory lane when you're walking through an antique mall, but can't really videotape everything that triggers memories. But this one I just had to jump into because this is my childhood. Magilla Gorilla. One of the things I found interesting, I never had the game. I remember growing up with the cartoons. This was copyrighted 64, so I was evidently watching them in reruns. But you know, you open up the game, which is in horrible condition, unfortunately. But all of a sudden, you remember People's Pet Shop, and you remember some of the characters. There's the cards, you know, of all the different characters. Monkey. I don't really remember the cartoon that well, but Magilla Gorilla for sale. I kind of remember the theme song, and I just thought this was fun. I've never seen this before. It is half price, but you know, you can see the box is completely torn open, and even at half price, it's actually still 10 bucks. So not picking it up, but I thought this was a fun one to be able to show. So I am absolutely in love with this piece, but not in love with the price, so it's going to stay behind, but I still wanted to showcase it. So the tag on it makes it $175, dates it to the 1800s, and I would agree with that. I'd say the aesthetic movement, so we're like 1880s, and they are calling it a coal scuttle, which I would have guessed, but then for sure, once you open it up, there is the canister that you would be able to remove. You can see the handle on it. I don't want the lid to flip back, so I'm not going to try and do both. It's not complete. There would have been the tools on the side, probably either a poker or a tong, maybe even a shovel. You can kind of see, maybe this side you can see it better. So there's a place that something would have slid in and then been received down at the bottom. So there would have been two tools on this. But given it is almost 150 years old, it's in great condition, and it is a beautiful piece. If I had an actual place and desire and suitability for this look, I'd be picking it up even at that price. But for now, I'm leaving it behind, but thought it was definitely worth showing off. So, 3.5 hours later, I basically shut the place down. They have a manual ticketing system, and I bought quite a bit. I should keep a running tally. I think I'm somewhere in this. It was somewhere a little over 60 bucks, like $61 and some cents. So they have a manual ticketing system, so they have to type in each tag individually, and I probably got 25 or 30 items for that price. So there was a lot to enter in, so I kind of felt bad about that. But you know, if you're going to use old tags, it's going to take time to enter things in. So that is my trip to Maumee. Again, one of my favorite antique malls. And now I'm heading to my hotel and getting ready for another day tomorrow of thrifting in the Cleveland area. So I may be doing some live hauls. I may be doing, I don't know what I'm going to be doing throughout the week. I can't wait until the end of the trip and do all the live hauls, because if this is any indication, I'm going to have a lot to do and talk about in a live haul. So we shall see. Maybe I'll do something every couple days. Who knows? But first day, beautiful weather, beautiful drive. So a little bit, but I think it's like an hour, hour and a half for the rest of my drive, but not too bad. And it's always good to have a fun day of antiquing. See ya. And evening is falling, and I've arrived at the hotel in Cleveland. So I'm going to turn in for the night, or at least, you know, check into my room. So that was my first day on the road into Ohio, and tomorrow we're going to be doing Ohio and Pennsylvania. And stay tuned to see what happens. Bye. So we are entering Moonstruck Vintage, run by Elisa Vitri, and this is her shop here in kind of like off downtown Cleveland. I think Little Italy is nearby, and she has picked up items from my live sales before, and almost most importantly, she donated the most valuable item that we sold in the Just One More Dachshund fundraiser last November. And since I was going to be in Cleveland, I definitely wanted to check out her shop. So this is a cool, very representative Moonstruck with the big graphic of the moon. Mix of vintage and decor. And joining us there at the counter is Elisa, and there's Cyndi from Mimi's Treasure Cottage. So I always love a stack of vintage magazines. We got some fun ones. I don't know if I would have actually recognized that as Jane Fonda. You know, I do remember her growing up, but that, let's see, Jane Fonda of Look magazine. Let's see. I can't tell when this issue is. Lord Calvert Canadian. Rolling Stone magazine. Okay, here we go. Volume 1, number 6. Why are they making it so hard to figure out when this was? Anyway, clearly from the 70s. And then actually you can also see, it's good to see in comparison, there's an older look magazine underneath it. So you can see how the size changed over time. So a lot of the ones, I know the early 60s, they still had this larger format. So I don't know at what point they changed over. So this one is 1962, was still large. Oh, here it is. Blind me. 1979. So at some point in the 70s, maybe late 60s, they changed to this smaller format. So selling these for $5 a pop. So it's just, these are always fun to go through and maybe find an issue that you find, you know, personally of interest, or cover image of somebody that you care about, and add it to a collection, or pick them up cheaply enough you can do them for junk journaling or frame the individual ads. So this piece caught my attention because I actually sold a version of this that was very similar in clear. It was much smaller. It was more of a trinket dish size. So this is more for sweets or, you know, canapes or something like that. It's the Fostoria fish dish is what we kind of dubbed it. Katie from Vintage and Vinyl picked up the clear one. This one is absolutely a gorgeous color and in great condition. It's $38, which is a great price. Not something I'm going to pick up for resale, but it's fun to be able to see it and recognize it as something that I've sold before, and just as a really pretty example of what Fostoria had to offer. So I always like to look at glass no matter where I'm shopping at, and so some great vintage pieces in here. But what I thought was neat to show is we've got a couple of the golden glass designs. So the pineapple, this is a signed Georges Briard piece. This one kind of has a pink like undertone to it, really attractive. That one I don't see a signature on, so that I think is just a mid-century modern, you know, era glass. But this is another Georges Briard that I had never seen before, because, I mean, the shape I've seen, and, you know, I've got the gold trim, but this was sitting in the middle, and it turns out it's attached to the bowl. I have actually never seen that. So it's only $24, which is a good price for a Georges Briard, but this is just one I've never even seen before, so I don't know if that makes it a little bit more unique, or I'm assuming it's not an aftermarket piece, although the fork itself is not signed. The fork has a number on it, but not a Briard sign. You know, it's just kind of fun to find out what kind of designs were done, and Georges Briard is always popular, and that would just be a really cool piece for a collection. So this is a fun set that I wanted to show, because one of the first pieces I ever sold in a live sale was either this one as a sugar or the flower. I think it was the sugar. And I actually sold it to Vinny from Vintage and Vinny. And but it was the only one that I had. It was just something I'd picked up individually, and I did, until today, did not realize it was actually part of a full set of these types of canisters. So this is the sugar, flour, and then the salt and the pepper. It's being sold as a set here because obviously they go together, but you can see the salt and the pepper are either a little bit older or might have been stored on the oven because the cover is discolored compared to the others. So it probably got quite a bit more use being the salt and the pepper. But I found it's this drizzle glaze, some call it spaghetti string, from Hazel Atlas. It just has the A, so it's just from Atlas. Glass. And I just thought, I remember when I picked it up, I thought it was a cool piece. Happy to sell it in a live sale. And now I know it's part of a larger set. And it's available at Moonstruck Vintage. So I asked Elisa what was her most popular items here at the store, and she said vintage clothing. And suddenly I came into a room and I can see why. Got some great variety, some great pieces. She's located really near the University Circle, which has Case Western Reserve, and then I think she said an art school or something like that. So a lot of university students. So you've got a piece here. I happen to grab it. It's 50% off. Poncho. So Woolrich poncho. I don't really know vintage clothing. Just kind of pick out things that maybe look like, I don't know, that looks like 80s. Leslie Faye with that big collar is 22. Let's see, you got a silk robe or a kimono, or no, just a jacket. But then right above it is this really cool wall hanging. So it's the School of Emmy Zweibrück, Prochaska, Vienna. Okay, we're just going to let you use your own reading skills for all of that. Aged 15 years. You know, this is looking like probably from early 1900s, 1910. What does it say? It says right on there, secession. So, you know, part of that secessionist era. I don't know if that's an address, the 17 at the end, or if that's part of the year. It is for sale. I'm curious. $125. I don't really have any place for something like that, but that is a really cool. That is a really cool piece. It'd be expensive to ship. Actually, I do have a place for that, but I'm not sure I've got a place in my car to carry it with me for the next week. So I'll probably be staying here, but that is kind of a cool piece and a nice backdrop for all of the vintage fashion that she has available here at Moonstruck Vintage. So we're at the newest location. Left Moonstruck, had got a couple items there, and Cyndi got a couple items there. Then we went into Little Italy and grabbed some lunch, and now we are at Sweet Lorain's, which you might recognize because Cyndi did a video on this a couple months ago, and that's actually how I learned about it. So I wanted to check it out myself. So it was definitely one of those locations I put on my itinerary for this trip. So hopefully, I'm sure it won't disappoint. So we'll head inside. We'll see how much video we can get inside. But Sweet Lorain's here in Cleveland, Ohio. So as we look past all of the vintage vinyl that would get Katie's attention, I got my eye caught by this window of swung glass and vintage glass, all backlit by the amazing original vacuum brick, glass brick from the front of the building. It's just some amazing, some large pieces. I mean, just check out that swung glass. It barely fits on the shelf. It has to tip up into the ceiling. Some of the bottles. It makes my collection, you know, puts my collection to shame. Absolutely fantastic display, and may have to see if one of those is going to come home with me. So taking a closer look at some of the glassware here on display, on the very top shelf you see a very distinctive shape. It's the I Dream of Jeannie bottle, but this in its original form was a Jim Beam bottle decanter. So they painted it for the show, but you can recognize the shape, and as most of them are known, the price tag on this reflects what it is. It's $60. It says right on there. It's a Genie bottle. Jim Beam bottles do not go for anywhere near that price, but they do when they have an iconic shape like that. So there's an impressive array of vinyl in this store. There were a couple little wayward pieces over here sitting on this big box, and it made me wonder, well, what is the box? And when you open it up, it is a phonograph. So this is French Deco record player. They've got it priced at $200. Looks like you've got the speed range set to standard at 78, but you could actually speed it up or slow it down, I guess, based on what album you're playing. Well, Katie, you said you didn't have a turntable for 78. Looks like I might have found a solution for you. So, no longer in Illinois, but Hager does still find me. So here we got the Hager, Royal Hager Mauve Agate, a special collection that Laura from Fatbird Finds likes. And so here's several pieces. I have to say these candlestick holders are kind of cool with the little feather plumes. $42. It says candle holders, so it must be for the pair. So, you know, definitely retail prices on some of the Hager, but amazing variety of pottery that they've got here. Hager, Red Wing, California Originals. Really liked this piece. I'd never seen that before. That's Red Wing. You know, just getting started in the first room, and I'm already a little overwhelmed on everything we've got to offer here at Sweet Lorain's. So it's like they have a little shelving unit just dedicated for my trip planning for the Just One More Dachshund Rescue fundraiser. They've got all of their dog planters, and it looks like these are all planters, all put together in one place. Unfortunately, not seeing any obvious Doxies. I thought he was a little long, but he's a terrier. That looks like a Cocker Spaniel. I think he's just a dog. He's looking long, but I don't think those ears, I don't think Doxies have floppy ears like that. So, all very cute. Let's see, is that a pug? Is that a Louis? No, I think that's a Shar-Pei. I didn't think they did planters and Shar-Peis. So nothing that I'm going to grab for the Dachshund fundraiser, but still kind of fun to see the way they've themed the shelves and put all of the dog planters together. So if Daniel from Tacky As Me ever makes it to Sweet Lorain's, he may have a heart attack, because here is just one shelf of one of their display units with just some of their brooches in it. And just look at the variety of what they've got available. Some beautiful, some of it done by color. Unfortunately, the case is locked. The guy's nowhere near. So I'm not going to pull any of these out, but hopefully you can see some of the prices. You know, again, this is not a thrift store, so these are going to be closer to retail prices. But for the variety, I think there would definitely be some pieces in here that would be worthy of going home for someone who's looking to bring back the brooch. So I'm not 100% clear how this store is structured yet, but they definitely are trying to collect things into themes, and I have come across the holiday aisle. So they've got, you know, some of the ring-a-light decorations. You got the big plastic bells. There's a lot of bells on this side. And then, as would be expected, all the glass ornaments are behind locked case. So you've got the cool Starburst ones up the top. Looks like those are selling for $15. And then you've got the individual trays of probably the Shiny Brights. And then down at the bottom, look at all of those, the plasticized wreaths. That one's even got the candle still in it with the cord. Looks like one of the plain ones. That green was 18. Oh, looks like a Russian Santa. Okay, Barb, need to come rescue. All the Russian Santas are all wedged down in the bottom. That biggie there laying on his back is 60. I don't know what they normally go for, but I wouldn't know what a Russian Santa was if it wasn't for Barb of Winking Owl Antiques. So glad I saw one of those and passed that on to her. And then as you go past the case, you move on to the other holidays. And so right at the top is some of the vintage Halloween, which you don't really come across this very often. So the horn noisemaker, that's $35. The fake nose and the glasses is $7.50. Some St. Patrick's Day, Kiss Me I'm Irish. Some, I guess, well, Native American. I don't know if that's supposed to be for Thanksgiving. Then we're moving down into Easter. So just all kinds of Halloween, all kind of mix. Oh, we got a Wayward Santa over on the side. Some great stuff at Sweet Lorain. And conveniently, because everything is organized by the same type, we also have this relatively small collection of skunks. So this is for you, Sean, from Skunky Junk Vintage. It's just starting out his channel, so you give him a check out his haul videos. He just built himself a selling shed. So Skunky Junk, this is for you. I've probably seen all of these pieces at one point or another individually, but I wanted to show this because it's rare that you see so much of it all in one place. And you can get the idea of why some people end up making these collections, because if you start collecting this vintage aluminum, kitchenware, just the colors available in the tumblers, the pitchers, just even some of the designs like these. I think I've seen these. I think somebody had them in a live sale one time with the aluminum with the little, like almost a coaster that slides on the bottom. One thing I hadn't seen was these. They're the aluminum napkin rings. I didn't see a marking on them, so I'm not sure whose they are, but just look at those colors. Just so bright and great for spring. $25 for the set. Probably worth every bit and every penny. Not picking them up for resale, but again, just showcasing what you can do when you collect vintage aluminum. But unlike the aluminum, where I come across them on occasion, and even if it's individually, here is probably the largest collection of head vases I have ever seen. I do not come across these very often at all. I hear about them in live sales, shop with me's, haul videos. People are finding them and selling them on. I just don't. I don't think I've ever seen one in the wild, other than maybe in a retail environment, which again would have been for like one or two, maybe. This is impressive. Makes me think I need to have a deep dive on somebody who knows head vases. Even got the hanging ones up at the top. So this is an extremely impressive display. It's going to stay here, but definitely wanted to show what it looked like. And for those of you who like medicine chest vintage, I just hit the mother load. So we've got just all kinds of brands I've heard of and brands I haven't. So we got Band-Aid, Tilt It, helps prevent spills. The non-Band-Aid bandage, probably everyone will call it Band-Aid. Got some face powders. Getting into the medicines, got Bayer aspirin. Just an amazing variety, all grouped together, so it's easy to find if this is the vintage you want to bring home. In one of my previous videos, I showed a brief view of a mid-century modern lamp as I passed it by to showcase something else. And I got so many comments about people liking the lamp, I figured, well, here is where they apparently have the room where lamps go to die. And it's got all of their mid-century modern furniture and then some amazing examples of lamps. You've got maybe a slightly later pair going into the wood tone, but look at those fiberglass shades, but as a pair. So that's, that's amazing. This one here in the front, just to have a side table large enough to hold that is would be an impressive feat, but the form is fantastic. The glaze on this one is absolutely gorgeous. Zoom in, he's got not only the browns, but it goes into the yellows and the blues. So just a beautiful piece there. And then come around to the other corner, and you've got another pair, which is always, good to always find pairs. Another great mid-century, but then check that one out. Try not to block the light so you can see it's got the green, it's got the blue, a clear stripe, but the brass bottom with a black base. It's super tall with a really tall drum shade. So, it's one of the tallest in the room. I'd probably say it's 3 feet, including the shade. Pretty impressive piece, and just, made all the better with all the period furniture surrounding it. And once again, we have the largest collection of vintage patterns I've ever seen in one place. So they seem to be somewhat organized by at least what they're making. So dresses, combinations, dresses, doesn't really divide them up by era. But it looks like there's kind of a mixed bag through here. So, you could spend quite a bit of time just sifting through these, looking either for something that looks cool to frame, or, hey, if you want to make one, knock yourself out. Just find your size. Well, I've made it to Pittsburgh. So, I had a pretty full day with Cyndi, and starting the day with Elisa at Moonstruck, and thought I might try and hit a thrift store or something along the way, but just a little bit more driving, and decided to just go straight to the hotel. So I think, with the memory serves, or thinking about what I videotaped yesterday and today, I think what I'm going to end up doing is putting it into a kind of like an Ohio video, just kind of a shop with me video. I will not do a haul. I know the video is going to be too long to include a haul video, and I'm concerned about how much haul I'm going to have. So I'll probably do, I think what I'm planning to do tonight is a live haul. So by the time this posts, you'll have missed that, but go back and you can look for it in my YouTube channel. And then kind of start a day. Maybe I'll do another set of videos while I'm here in Pennsylvania. We'll just kind of see where it goes. But I'm turning in, well, not quite turning in, but I'm settling in for the night. And my first 2 days of being on the road are done, and got quite a bit more ahead of me. So thanks for joining me. I'll go ahead and do a closing here just in case. If you've gotten this far watching all these videos, I will thank you very much. But if you're not a subscriber, I appreciate you. Go ahead and hit subscribe. If you haven't done already, maybe put a thumbs up on the like the button. Comment, tell me what you liked that I found. All those types of things help the video prove to YouTube that I'm a viable channel, and they'll share it with other people who have similar interests. So thanks so much for your time. Thanks for putting your trust in Trusty Huckster. I'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.
Well, show me a sign if you're wishing me to stay. Otherwise, I say goodbye and finish out the day. And that sunrise in the morning and you got nothing to say. Oh, that's when I'll be headed on my way.